Hi everyone, Richard here. It's been a while, but I'm finally back with a couple more videos. In these, I will investigate possible geometries for two more Raphael paintings, the Three Graces and the Deposition of Christ. The fit of these geometries are more of a stretch than those in my previous videos, especially the Deposition. But they continue the pattern shown here in these clips of a geometry based on a pentagon, pentagram, circle that appears to align with the composition of the painting. Then, often in an unusual double-proof way, the geometry extends out to establish the painting's proportions. When searching for a geometry that might have been used by early artists as a framework for the composition of their paintings, and starting with a single pentagon, pentagram, in a circle, or double, one upside down, the proportions I've found for paintings such as Botticelli's Primavera and Birth of Venus, and Raphael's Alba Madonna, La Belle Jardinière, and possibly The Marriage of the Virgin, as well as others, all have the circle touching the edges of the paintings, as shown here. But what about a painting where a pentagon-pentagram circle appears to be floating inside the composition, like Raphael's The Three Graces? An early work, painted circa 1504, when Raphael was 21, The Three Graces is square and quite small, a bit over 17 centimeters or 6.7 inches on each side. Can a similarly intriguing geometry be found that fits this beautiful painting? I do now find when investigating a new painting, lines that parallel the sides of a pentagon or pentagram tend to jump out at me. This painting is no exception. Notice how the sides of the upper body and legs echo the angle of the sides of a pentagon or pentagram, not unlike the portrayal of the Three Graces in Botticelli's earlier painting, Primavera, painted in the late 1400s, and discussed in my 5th video. Note that each of these three sets of double lines cross on the center horizontal line. A pentagon-pentagram circle, placed comfortably on the central and left sets of lines, disregarding the right set for now, is suspended inside the painting and positioned near the center, like this. In my 6th video, Some Geometry, I showed how to construct this geometry with a pentagon-pentagram circle positioned inside a rectangle. It's created by extending these sides of the pentagon and pentagram down, like this, where they all meet on the same horizontal line. Repeat this on top, and then draw vertical lines on the outer points to form sides. This forms a rectangle, just slightly taller than wide. It's not as elegant as many of the other geometries I've found, but using it here, and with the pentagon-pentagram circle positioned in this way, the top and bottom of this geometry nicely aligns with the top and bottom of the painting. But not being a square, the sides do not. So is there a way to construct a similar geometry that would form a square? Another thing that will often jump out for me now are lines that land on the golden mean. I was delighted, but not entirely surprised, to find that, with the geometry constructed in this way, the central horizontal lines of the pentagrams are on the golden mean of the vertical dimension, like this. You'll recall the formula for the golden mean points. AB is to BC, as BC is to the whole AC. Again, AB is to BC, as BC is to the whole AC. But then what? I tried various geometric arrangements, ultimately finding this. Starting with a pentagon-pentagram circle, I extended just these four sides of the pentagons and drew horizontal lines where they meet to form the top and bottom. I then extended the horizontal lines of the pentagrams, the golden mean lines, to the left and right, like this. Then I drew 4 diagonal lines from the points where the sides of the pentagons meet the top and bottom lines, and that just touch the sides of the circle. vertical lines drawn where these lines meet the extended golden mean lines form, with the top and bottom lines, a perfect square. This, then, forms a lovely geometry that nicely fits Raphael's The Three Graces. I want to offer one more thought, though I'm really sticking my neck out here. If that rightmost figure is moved slightly to the right, look how nicely it fits the geometry. Moved like this, the outside shoulder just fits the edge of the circle, similar to the shoulder of the left figure. And the right side of the figure fits the sides of the pentagons. As well, the left side of the upper leg fits along the side of the pentagram. Is it possible Raphael first imagined the composition of this painting more symmetrical like this? But then perhaps deciding it was too static this way, or perhaps that the figure on the right appeared distant, moved the right figure in, making the grouping look more casual and more connected. As I said, that's just a thought, but an interesting one. One has to keep in mind that in these videos, I am reverse engineering these geometries from the finished paintings. If early artists used geometry to aid in the composition of their work, it would have come first, or would have developed along with preliminary drawings. It is disheartening to me that I've yet to find any preliminary drawings clearly showing the incorporation of geometry in this way. If anyone knows of any, please let me know. I should, however, mention this Raphael drawing. It's not a pentagon, but an octagon, having 8 sides. How the size of the inner circle is calculated isn't immediately apparent, but it can be found with some simple geometry. There's no obvious reason for the addition of the upper half circle, nor why the drawing runs off the top of the paper. It is, however, on the reverse side of this drawing study. It can just be seen through the paper. It is tempting to think that the geometry was drawn where it is as a compositional guide for this sketch, seen as it is through the paper. Another apparent fit of a pentagon-pentagram circle to a Raphael painting. I'll investigate one more, the deposition of Christ, in my next video. As I said, that one's a stretch, but a really interesting one. Please stay tuned. For information on my own work, please visit my website at rtdavis.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Richard Thomas Davis Artist. Thanks for joining me.